The following is a lecture given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami on April 27, 1985 in Los Angeles, California. The class begins with a reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 2, Verse 46.
Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The five material elements, the 10 senses, and the mind all combine to form the various parts of the gross and subtle bodies. The living entity comes in contact with his material bodies, whether high or low, and later gives them up by his personal prowess. This strength can be perceived in a living entity's personal power to possess different types of bodies. Translation with repetition. The five material elements, the 10 senses, and the mind all combine to form the various parts of the gross and subtle bodies. A living entity comes in contact with his material bodies, whether high or low, and later gives them up by his personal powers. This strength can be perceived in a living entity's personal power to possess different types of bodies. Purport. The conditioned soul has knowledge, and if he wants to fully utilize the gross and subtle bodies for his real advancement in life, he can do so. It is therefore said that by his high intelligence, Svena Tejasa, by the superior power of superior knowledge achieved from the right source, the spiritual master or Acharya, he can give up his conditional life in a material body and return home back to Godhead. However, if he wants to keep himself in the darkness of this material world, he can do so. The Lord confirms this as follows in Bhagavad Gita 9:25. Yanti deva vrata devan pitring yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajinopi mam. Translation. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. End of translation. The human form of body is valuable. One can use this body to go to the higher planetary systems, to Pitri Loka, or he can remain in this lower planetary system. But if one tries, he can also return home back to Godhead. This prowess is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supersoul. Therefore the Lord says, Matasmitir Gyanam Apohanam Cha. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. If one wants to receive real knowledge from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become free from bondage to repeated acceptance of material bodies. If one takes to the devotional service of the Lord and surrenders unto Him, the Lord is prepared to give one directions by which to return home back to Godhead. But if one foolishly wants to keep himself in darkness, he can continue in the life of material existence. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta translation and purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 2, Text 46, in the matter of Hiranyakashipu, king of the demons. The Jamaraj is speaking. How the living entity has the power to accept different bodies. The different bodies that one accepts offer different facilities for enjoyment, different that we have heard so many times. And in the human form of body, we can guide ourselves in which direction, what type of body we want to take in the next life. In fact, whether we know it or not, whatever we are doing in the human form of life will dictate our future bodies. This is known as the karma kshetra, or the place, the field of activities where we build up our karmas, and then accordingly we will take different births and work off those reactions. In the animal species, they are working off the various reactions. They're not able to produce a new karma, but rather they're suffering or enjoying the reactions of their previous activities. So when the intelligence is given in the platform of human life, where one can distinguish between good, bad, ignorance, passionate, when one can distinguish between various directions, with that comes the responsibility for everything that we're doing. So we saw just in the World Fair in Japan, they were showing how in the future they're going to have cars that can go off the road and fly here and there. You can go anywhere. But if you were to give such a car to some kind of a maniac, then he could drive it anywhere, in your living room window. You could end up with people, instead of just running off the road, they'll be flying overhead. They can just, they can land anywhere. So obviously, the more ability you have to move, then you have also responsibility to know how to drive and where to go. So as a human being, we have the ability that we can take birth in the higher planetary systems, Devaloka. Or we can again regress back into the animal kingdom, which is considered to be the greatest failure of human life. Or we can wander about within the various human species. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that by this Sankirtan movement, he can save all of the people from old age and death. But by this process of Sankirtan, people can be saved from this repetition of birth and death. They can be saved from old age. In spite of all of, just listening to one of Srila Prabhupada's tapes, they may offer so many things in the modern world, but what they don't have is any solution for old age or for death. That is still 100% assured for everyone. So one cannot achieve, even though we can change our bodies until we get free from the subtle body, the Mon, Buddhi, Ahankar, the mind, intelligence and false ego, we are subject again and again to take repeated birth. And the process given to achieve freedom from the subtle body is actually bhakti yoga. With the process of devotional service, we can transcend the subtle body. Ihayasya hariyadase karmana manosa Gira Nikalasvapyavastasu Jivan Mukta Sa Uchite. By engaging our thoughts, our words, our activities in the service of Krishna, in this life even, if we can do that fully, we are considered to be liberated even while living. Jivan Mukta Sa Uchite. So, it's a very great opportunity. But unfortunately, the people in the world are being deprived of that opportunity. Due to the rampant progress of material advancement, people, especially in developing countries, they are largely enamored, and even in the developed countries, they are pretty much bewildered. And they, at the present time, many people, of course, they really feel that we have achieved, at least we saw like in Japan, they really wanted to show that now we've achieved the epitome. Technology has taken us from the cavemen. They made a whole imitation of Epcot. And they wanted to show there that we all came from the Big Bang, we've all evolved, and now we've come up. The human brain is the topmost thing. There's no other known life on any other planet the way we know it. They slipped in there, the way we know life. You know, they're very expert in presenting something, and then they put in the little footnotes, but people don't pick it up usually. If they don't really know, they're just presenting a theory. In the booklet they say this is science fiction, this is a theory, this is an artist's conception. But when they present it to the people, the presentation is if it is real. This is where it's at. This is how it's happened. We've come from this soup. And they show pictures of volcanoes and things. And then now, here we are. We've evolved we're the top entity. We are it. And we're going higher and higher. And there's no limit. And buy a lot of new cars and enjoy life. So, I think in America, to some extent, people have, like Prabhupada said, that, well, he was asked in Fiji, he gave an interview, and they said, why did you go to America? He said, well, I saw that in India, after receiving independence, they were after 1,000 years of foreign rule, they are all eager for economic development, and no one wanted to hear about spiritual life. But I thought that if I went to America they've been enjoying for enough time, they've had enough material advancement that some of them may have already been enjoyed out. They are looking now for renunciation. They may be looking for some kind of spiritual solution to their problems, seeing that the material solutions are not going to be effective. So actually, Srila Prabhupada wanted was hoping that the Americans, who since they're been at most advanced in technology, since they've got it before everyone else, so similarly they'll be the first to be fried out, or they'll be the first to come to their senses that this doesn't hold the total solution. And it seems to be even a kind of a revival of spiritual consciousness. But just a type of spiritual revival, or even just a frustration over materialism, is in itself not sufficient. But people have to actually have something to dig their teeth into, something which can solve or answer the questions which arise and which give the answers in such a way that they can be applied in everyday life. So we see that how the need, that there's actually like on a war level, on one hand, the big material powers that they're trying to keep the people or to educate them more and more in this type of materialistic concept of life. They don't offer any alternative. They don't indicate that any alternative exists. You see, they're just gobbling up hook, line, and sinker, as you would say, the theories given by the previous scientists, and even though the scientists now are coming up with rebuttals and they're coming up with amendments, but people are slow to catch on to those. So the solution we only can see is actually Srila Prabhupada's books. that his books have to be given to people, and there has to be a program where people can practice the teachings in his books in a very easily assimilable way, so that the mass of people can start to take to Krishna consciousness more and more. Otherwise, what is their hope? Unless they are freed from this mental, intellectual conceptions of life, unless they are brought up to the spiritual concept of life, they'll always be bounced about by these various speculations on the material platform, and they'll never have any peace. They'll never have any shelter. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could see that people are suffering from lack of knowing Krishna. That's the one thing which nobody can say. Nobody knows who set the bang off, as Prabhupada said. No one knows what was the ultimate origin. No one even knows what is the very. They skip over the basic things like what is life that we are living. They just give some distant theories which can't be proven because they're totally millions and billions of years ago. So anyone's guess is as good as anyone else's, and they present that as the absolute truth. And who's going to come up and show and disprove that? But people are still growing old. They're still dying. They're still suffering all various types of problems, and it doesn't really solve anything. So, in all this forest of material words, what is the solution? So, amongst all this forest of material words, there's the transcendental name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And if people start to vibrate the transcendental names, then their consciousness becomes purified. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his process was to get everyone to chant the holy name. That was the basic process. When he would walk through Navadvip with all of his associates, one time, for instance, he was walking through Navadvip and Mayapur, and there, even in those days, there were a bunch of drunks sitting on one side of the road, winos or whatever they drink. They usually drink this palm tree wine, and it makes them real giddy because it's kind of low alcohol content, but they really get not that low, but they get pretty crazy, but they don't get totally put to sleep right away, so they're real talkative. So, as Lord Chaitanya was going by, they started to make comments. Hey, look at, there's Gaur Hari, here he comes. There's Gaur Hari, the dancing golden one. And someone else said, wow, yeah, you should see the way he dances. And then he puts on a little act showing, raising his hands. Lord Chaitanya just goes by with his associates. And 2, 3 of them, they really take it up. They go behind Lord Chaitanya's group, and they start raising their hands and going, Hari Bol, and making a little mock dance, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya doesn't say anything, so his associate, they just go on. And the drunks have their little fun, and then they get, distracted because they're drunks, and they go off and do their old thing again. Then the devotees are all in anxiety. Why didn't Lord Chaitanya do something? Why didn't he stop them? It's offensive. They weren't very seriously chanting. So many doubts may have come up in their mind. Different people were thinking different things. So Lord Chaitanya could sense their inquisitive state of consciousness. So he told them that. He stopped and said, these people, so they're drunk. The effect of their alcohol will last for one day. Somehow or another they chanted Hare Krishna. By chanting Hare Krishna, that effect will stay with them eternally. So somehow or another, even if people are not pure when they're chanting, still they're getting some spiritual benefit. Obviously, they're not going to be able to experience the higher bhavas of Krishna consciousness while they're in a materially contaminated consciousness. Still they'll get spiritual benefit, which will be as a sukriti, an asset, which will accrue and accrue until eventually they'll be able to take up in a more full way pure Krishna consciousness. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he encouraged everyone to take up this chanting of Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West, naturally he kept saying that I'm very old, I'm not going to be here. He wanted to establish brahmanas. Brahmanas are the teachers, the preachers. And he said he wanted to establish varnashram in society was the long-range plan. But to start varnashram, the missing link is brahmanas, those who will teach others. You have to start from the brahmanas, from those who are the preachers, from the Vaishnava preachers of the Lord, had to produce some pure devotees, someone who would, devotees who would carry on his mission. Then, as he was leaving, he said, I only done half the work, now the remaining half is varnashram. That means that the whole society, even those who are impure, even those who have bad habits, the varnashram means that there's a 4, then there's even below that, but they all accept Krishna. You see, Veda mukha mani dharmo nahi gano, pap nishida kore. Lord Chaitanya said that the lowest stratum of the Vedic culture are those who by lip, they say, I believe in Krishna, I believe in Vedic culture. But they are saying by mouth, practically, they're not able to do it. They're making so many offenses, they're committing so many sinful reactions, sinful activities. But he considered them within the Vedic. He considered them human beings. At least by lip they were accepting that they accepted Krishna consciousness. Even though he said that vast majority of them, they don't follow. Then beyond those are those who are practicing, but they want material comfort. Beyond those they are practicing, they want liberation. And then finally you come those who want pure Krishna consciousness. They are the rarest of all. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a very basic program. Prabhupada came and he showed how this can be practiced in the West. He created, or he attracted so many souls and purified them, and in this way made them pure devotees of the Lord, uncovered their... Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a very basic program. Prabhupada came and he showed how this can be practiced in the West. He created, or he attracted so many souls and purified them, and in this way made them pure devotees of the Lord, uncovered so many coverings from them, so that their desire to serve Krishna became manifested. This is the actual thing that has to be uncovered. There's so many layers. And the final layer is that the final state is our pure state where we want to serve Krishna. When that desire comes, then we're in touch with the Supersoul in the most intimate way. When our desire is that to pray to the deity, to pray to the Supersoul, to engage us in the service of spiritual master and Krishna. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had this basic program. He only wrote 8 verses, the Shikshashtaka. The rest of the time he kept everyone busy chanting. Of course, to preach Krishna consciousness, so many literatures are needed. You see, but to practice Krishna consciousness in a broader varnashram sense, people have to be trained up, but the basic thing is first they have to be engaged to chant somehow or another. Now with this simple faith in the holy name, in India and different parts of the world, we've been embarking on a program of just trying to encourage people somehow or another to chant. Irregardless of their other habits, whether they're vegetarian or non-vegetarian, as they say it in non-veg, whether they're pure or impure, to get everyone to chant, and then to eulogize the benefits of pure chanting. But first get them to be attracted or habituated in chanting. Because even in India you'd be surprised that most of the people do not chant. They don't have that habit. And we've got so many remarkable results just from this chanting. In fact, all kinds of results. I mean, someone just published a book of the people writing in what were the effects they got from chanting. Mental, physical, spiritual. I think you'd have a fantastic collection that would impress people of all mentalities. I mean, for instance, in Orissa, I was giving out these cards to request everyone to chant, and at least 108 times Hare Krishna. This because Lord Chaitanya, he said to Lord Nityananda, Suno, Suno Nityananda, Suno Haridas, Sarvatra Maragya, Koroho Prakash, Prati Ghore Ghore Giya, Koro Edika, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shikha. Listen Nityananda, listen Haridas, this is my order. You take it from door to door and you beg the people to take up this instruction of mine. They should chant in name of Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna. They should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Koro Krishna Shikha. And they should read the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the books which contain the teachings of Lord Krishna. You go and you beg the people to take up this program. So, since this order has been handed down in the disciplic succession, so we are going and begging the people. In India it's very amazing because normally all the sannyasis, they cut a big profile, they give Ashirabad and people come up and they want, give me this, give me that, and so that instead we're begging, please take up this chanting. So generally people, they say, oh, sannyasi is begging, he's asking to give one portion of the day for chanting. Who can refuse? So many people, they accept to do that. So in this way, once they start, just to make it easy, we say 10 minutes. 108 times takes about 8 minutes to chant around. Try that, just as a beginning. It's no limit. We're just saying as a beginning, why not try this amount? You have to tell them something, so. Then normally after they do 1, nobody stops at 1, they do 4, then they do 4, then they say one day do more, they do 8. And so many people, they come up to 16 or 8 or 6 rounds a day. I was there, I came for the Nityananda Praodasi festival. I came to Bhubaneswar. And it was surprising that one man came up to me and found on the ground, and started rolling and everything and praying his obeisance, said, what's going on? And he said that you saved me. He says, 1 year ago you came and you asked me to chant. I took the card from you. And he showed his fingers like this. He said, I was a leper, now I'm cured. He said, this is my thing. The real cure is you'll go back to Godhead. That's the real cure. Just the physical disease is insignificant. No, now I have faith, now I'm chanting 16 rounds. If you could cure this disease, then you can also cure my material disease, my spiritual disease. I thought, anyway, it's Krishna's holy name, unlimited. It's nice that we heard about these things in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyway, about a half hour later, another man came, he was wearing socks. Nobody wears socks in the middle of the summer, he's wearing socks. He bows down. Yes, you saved me. He pulled off his socks. He had no toes. He said, 1 year ago you gave me the card. I was a leper, now it's negative. Don't worry, negative. I was tested, it's no longer positive, negative. Now I'm cured. Now I'm chanting 16 rounds. 2 in one day. And they're chanting. They're of course, because recently they have a lot of leprosy still. You don't have too many lepers in America, so they probably don't admit it. You can give the people that have these horrible diseases now, the incurable ones you don't want to mention. The only hope probably is if they would chant. In any case, the point is that somehow or other, if people take up the chanting. I know that in India, for instance, there's one temple president, and he specifically would, when the drunks would come around, the different people in South India get a lot of these Christian converts, and they all stay drunk a lot of the time. He'd get them to chant and everything, and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda again and again. And just by chanting that mantra, after a few days they'd give it up. Some of them, they go back to their, they become, and their whole family becomes very thankful, and they become devotees. So we found such a great response from just getting everyone to chant. The thing is, it's so easy in India and even in South America. We've had a very good response with asking people. I mean, I've asked, since I got such a good response in India, so I thought, let me try South America. And then we had big programs, and I'd request everyone. In fact, we have those same cards printed up in South America, and I'd ask all the people to start chanting at the end of a big lecture, and I'd ask who can give a few minutes a day for this meditation. And so many people would raise their hand, and we'd give them a certificate, and they would appreciate it very much. And anyone would come up and say they were cured of any terminal diseases, but that's not our purpose. Many people have come up say they're cured from their material desires, and they become devotees, and that's really our purpose. So that was just the big apple, of course. The big is how to get the North Americans to take up chanting. So that when they read Prabhupada's books, some of them will enter into their thick skulls, and they'll be able to guide the rest of the world along a more spiritual course. And I think that here in Los Angeles, surely some of these fertile, spiritualized imaginations will think of so many ways how to induce the Americans to take up the chanting of the holy name. I didn't have, just as unless you do something, you never think of how to. I thought, well, last year in the New Orleans Brass Yatta, I didn't know any other way. I'm spending all my time in the third world. Let me try the same way. See what happens for the Americans. So I gave my talk and requested everyone to take up chanting. Who can give 10 minutes? But there I saw it wasn't getting so much response. I said there's a challenge. This is a challenge to everyone. We dare anyone to chant Hare Krishna for 10 minutes a day. Who can chant and not achieve some result, some spiritual result? We'll give you your money back. We challenge you, we'll admit, Then we asked the people who raised their hand, who will take up, who will start, who will chant. I was highly embarrassed, Nobody raised their hand, America's tough. So just to save face, I kept talking a little bit. I got myself in this one. And then all of a sudden, a few people started coming forward. I got 20 people signed up. I couldn't believe it. And just started this public standing there. People, most of them were young people. A few just, Latins, and a few just regular Americans. They came up, all right, just challenging. I don't think that's the best approach necessarily in America, but few people came forward, and I thought that in America, you can't have them sign. They want to sign their name. You have it just what do you call it? Postage, prepaid stub on there. You chant first, and if you like it, then you fill it in and send it in. Americanized system. No obligation. But anyway, whether this way or that way, the point is somehow or another, if we get the people to chant. I just wanted to reiterate that point. And some people will chant by taking prasad, some will chant by reading, some will chant by personal request, some will chant by association. Somehow or another, if people chant, then they'll gradually get purified. And the more we have our faith in the holy name and the power of the holy name, we can see that is the actual thing which will change the world. is this chanting of Hare Krishna and Srila Prabhupada's books. Lord Chaitanya said three: chanting, worshipping, and Krishna Shikha. Prabhupada's books, teachings of Krishna consciousness. So we have our mandate, we have our basic program. We have to train up first-class preachers who follow Brahminical culture. They follow the 4 regulative principles. They chant 16 rounds. They're pure. Unless you are pure, purity is a force, one cannot preach. That is a fact. But anyone can chant Hare Krishna, and gradually by that they will be able to go back to Krishna. Eventually they may become pure enough to preach, or they'll be pure enough to practice and assist the preachers and contribute and be a big congregation. But Prabhupada wanted us to create that type of, when he said Varnashram, he said that people will not be all pure in their habits, but they'll believe in Krishna, they'll chant, and gradually we want to bring them up to the pure level. We want to eradicate, by chanting, then they can be pure. You can't be pure and then chant. You have to chant and then be pure, unless the person is already very much a Jnani, unless they've come to a very philosophical understanding. It's very hard for most people to first renounce and then chant. It's by chanting they get the strength to renounce, to avoid sinful activities. So more and more people are becoming attracted to mode of goodness things because they're seeing how, just by sheer science, they're seeing by statistics that sinful activities are not good for you. They're creating diseases and cancers and so many. They're forced, even when they don't want to, they're forced to, if they care even about their physical well-being, they're forced to curtail their sinful activities. If they actually understand that after this life comes another life, and what they're doing in this life will create the next life, and these are the alternatives, somehow or another we have to give them the spiritual knowledge. When Krishna consciousness is able to be, as Prabhupada wanted, the spiritual masters of the entire world, and we hope that that would happen by them being the spiritual master of the Americans. There's no other, you can see when you see this Epcot or this Japanese World Fair, that modern religions are not able to answer their questions. Mleccha, they have to go, although they're our brothers and we respect them, but the real answers to these modern scientific questions and proposals they brought up can only be adequately answered with the full knowledge, which you get in the most complete version, of course, in the Vedas, especially in essence, in the Bhagavatam and in the Bhagavad Gita. So, distributing books on these transcendental topics, and getting people to chant Hare Krishna and practice Krishna consciousness, worshipping Krishna by taking his prasadam and attending the temple and establishing temples in their homes. This is the basic order of Lord Chaitanya to all of his followers. Even Lord Nityananda was going door to door, knocking, asking the people to take it up. So if it's good enough for Lord Nityananda to do, what to speak of us? Who are we? Insignificant, conditioned souls being engaged in devotional service. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I don't know if there's time for questions. Even if they chant offensively, it's better than not chanting at all. I was in South India and they get these real intellectual type people there. And he came up to me and said that every religion says theirs is the only way. You must have faith. Isn't there one religion that you don't need faith? It'll work even without faith. Even you don't believe. I said, yes, we have it. This chanting of the holy name. Dasu Ratnakar, who became Valmiki, he had no faith. He was asked to chant the name of Ram. He said, I can't chant any name of anything holy. He couldn't even say God. Nothing like that. He was told to then chant murder, murder, murder in Sanskrit. Mara, mara, mara. Yeah, then there's no, only say that much faith that you somehow or another chant. You do what the Guru ordered. That much minimal faith is required. They do it. But he had no faith in the holy name as such. He couldn't even say it, what to speak of have faith in it. He was chanting Mara, 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 Mara. By chanting Mara, Mara, Mara together, Ram, 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 Ram was being spoken from his lips. And as a result, he became Valmiki. He realized Ramchandra. He had a die. He could see the entire Ramayana 10,000 years before Ram appeared on this earth. He was so pure. Ajamil, he just chanted his son's name. Narayan. Narayan when he was dying. And then just because of that, he would say. So where is it? He wasn't chanting in some great faith. It was an accident, practically speaking. If someone chants, even just mechanically, without faith, somehow or another they chant, it will gradually have effect. Obviously, if someone chants with faith, with devotion, with concentration, then how much quicker will it act? It took Valmiki a long time of chanting Mara, Mara, Mara to get the same effect. But nonetheless, there will be some effect. Why, even Haridas Thakur, when Lord Chaitanya said that how will all these mlechas and jalvanas, how these jalvanas will be delivered? These fishermen and all these various type of students who are always arguing and never want to get down to actual reality. Just want to stay on the mental platform, and there's so many. So then, what did Haridas Thakur say? That there, by your mercy, by just chanting a Naam Abhash, the reflection of the name, it's like when the sun rises, there's a little light before, that's called the Abhash. It's just a reflection, a dim reflection of the name. Just by that, they'll be purified. And like for instance, the Mohammedans, so when they say Haram, he said just by they don't mean Hey Ram, they mean, oh you offensive person. But somehow they're saying Haram. Or the Americans are saying, was it Ramana Inns or something, or Rama? So many Ramas they have in America. Panorama. Somehow or another, they're already getting the blessings, knowingly or unknowingly. So, and if they actually would chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, even without much faith, you see, even just as just an experiment, just as out of hopelessness or something, out of just, well, why not? Tried everything else. Well, so many people, that's how a lot of people start chanting. But then by chanting, they gradually see a change in themselves, and they start to see that there is something, a higher reality, become a little purified. Then when they read and when they come in association with devotees, naturally they can appreciate more. Of course, if someone's very offensive to the devotees, very offensive, then it's in many cases more difficult. In one place I heard Prabhupada told that you just have them chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya because they're so sinful that it will be more effective than chanting Hare Krishna. Even if they are offensive, better they chant than not chant. Of course, we have to show the standard of offenseless chanting and preach against committing offenses, because if they commit offenses, they won't get pure love for God. They may get liberation, or they may remain as human beings, but they won't get the ultimate goal. So we want to bring them to the highest benediction. We have to show ourselves by a personal example what is offenseless chanting and try to bring people up to that platform. Hare Krishna.